For 10 years, from first grade all the way to sophomore year of high school, my life was a living nightmare. And the architect of that nightmare was a kid named Mark. Every single day, without fail, he'd find a way to make me feel small. It started with name-calling, shoving me in the hallways, knocking books out of my hands. As we got older, it escalated. He'd spread rumors, turn my few friends against me, and just generally make my existence miserable. I dreaded school. I'd get this knot in my stomach every morning knowing I had to face him. The teachers saw it, but they'd just say, "Kids will be kids," or tell me to toughen up. But you can only toughen up so much before you start to break. By the time I was 16, I had broken. I felt completely alone, worthless, like a ghost haunting the school hallways. The constant torment had chipped away at my soul until there was almost nothing left. I couldn't see a future. I couldn't imagine a day where I didn't wake up with that sense of dread. I told my elder sister but I guess she had her own stuff going on, so she never paid attention. I told my parents, but they advised me to toughen up. My father tried to talk to his father, but he was so drunk to care. So I made a plan. It was a dark, heavy decision that felt like the only way to make the pain stop. I decided that on Friday, after school, I would end my life. I wrote a note. I thought about the logistics, and a strange, terrifying calm settled over me. It felt inevitable. That Friday felt surreal. The whole day was a blur. The laughter of other students, the drone of the teachers' voices, it all sounded like it was coming from underwater. I was just going through the motions, counting down the hours until it would all be over. The final bell rang, and my heart started pounding. This was it. I walked out of the school building, my head down, avoiding eye contact with everyone. I just wanted to disappear. As I headed towards the school gate, I saw him. Mark, he was standing there with his group of friends laughing. My stomach clenched. Of course, he had to be the last person I'd see. He spotted me, and a smirk spread across his face. He nudged his friends, and they all turned to look at me. I braced myself for one last insult, one final push. I just wanted to get past them, to get home. Mark swaggered over, blocking my path. He looked me up and down, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. I just wanted it to be over. He leaned in close, and I flinched, expecting the worst. But instead of a shove or a cruel name, he just looked at me, his expression unreadable for a second. Then he said something I never expected. He said, "Hey man, you got something on your shirt." I froze. I looked down, and sure enough, there was a huge mustard stain right on the front of my t-shirt from lunch. I'd been so out of it, I hadn't even noticed. I looked back up at him, completely confused. He wasn't laughing at me. His friends were snickering, but Mark just kind of shrugged. He said, "Just thought you should know," and then he turned around and walked away with his friends. It was so normal. So mundane. It was the first time in 10 years he had ever spoken to me like I was just another person. Not a target, not a victim, just a guy with a mustard stain on his shirt. That tiny, insignificant interaction shattered the dark trance I was in. It was like a crack of light in a pitch-black room. It was so unexpected, so bizarrely human that it completely derailed my train of thought. I stood there by the school gate for what felt like an eternity, just staring at the spot where he had stood. A mustard stain. He told me about a mustard stain. Why? Why would he do that? It wasn't a compliment, it wasn't an apology, but it also wasn't cruel. It was just an observation. It made me feel seen, but not in the way I was used to. It made me feel like a person. As I walked home, the plan I had so carefully constructed started to fall apart. The finality of it suddenly seemed terrifyingly real. That one small, random act of normalcy from my tormentor had somehow tethered me back to the world. It reminded me that the world was unpredictable. If something this strange could happen, what else could happen? Could things actually get better? For the first time in a very long time, a tiny spark of hope ignited within me. I got home and I tore up the note. I didn't know what the next day would bring, but for the first time I wanted to be there to find out. Life didn't magically get better overnight. Mark still occasionally gave me a hard time, but something had shifted. The power he held over me was gone. His words didn't cut as deep because I held on to that one moment of bizarre kindness. I started focusing on myself, finding hobbies, and slowly, very slowly, making new friends outside of his circle. I graduated high school, went to college, and started building a life for myself. I found the career I loved. I fell in love. I got married. My life became full and happy and vibrant, everything my 16-year-old self couldn't even imagine. Years later, I was back in my hometown for a wedding. I was walking downtown grabbing a coffee when I saw him. Mark. He looked older, tired. The confident swagger was gone. He was just a man standing on a street corner. I hesitated for a moment, but I knew I had to talk to him. I walked up and said his name. He looked at me, confused at first, and then a flash of recognition, followed by shame, crossed his face. He probably expected me to yell at him to finally get my revenge, but that's not why I was there. I took a deep breath and I said, "I don't know if you remember me, but you probably won't remember this. One Friday in 10th grade, you stopped me after school and told me I had a mustard stain on my shirt. I was going to go home and end my life that day. But you said that, and it stopped me. It sounds crazy, but you saved my life. And I just wanted to say thank you." The color drained from his face. He just stared at me, speechless. And then, to my absolute shock, he broke down. Right there on the street corner, this man who had been my personal monster started sobbing. He told me everything. He told me that his home life was a war zone. His dad was an alcoholic who took out all his anger on him and his mom. School was the only place where he felt like he had any power, any control. Making me feel small was the only way he knew how to stop feeling small himself. He said he was so full of pain and rage that it just spilled out onto whoever was an easy target. And I was the easy target. He told me he hated himself for it every single day. He remembered that Friday. He said he saw the look on my face, and for a split second he saw his own pain reflected back at him. He didn't know why he said what he did about the mustard stain, but he was just so tired of being angry. We stood there and talked for almost an hour. Two grown men sharing the secret pain we carried from our childhood. We were both victims, just in different ways. His abuse didn't excuse his actions, but it explained them. And in that conversation, we both found a kind of healing we didn't know we needed. He apologized and I forgave him. I realized then that hurt people. But the most beautiful part of the story is that healed people can heal people. We can choose to break the cycle. That day, we were no longer a bully and a victim. We were just two people who had found a way to let go of the past and start healing together. If you're ever struggling, please know that you are not alone and there is hope. Help is available. You can reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline or other mental health resources. Your story isn't over. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing for more content. Take care.